September 2nd, 1666. A single spark in a bakery on Pudding Lane ignited a firestorm that would erase the medieval city of London in 4 catastrophic days. 13,000 homes destroyed, 87 churches reduced to ash, an entire ancient city gone. And the cause remains more suspicious than history admits. But was this truly an accident? Or was the Great Fire of London something far darker? A conspiracy that reached the highest levels of power. To understand why London burned so completely, we must first understand what London was. A medieval wooden city packed impossibly tight along the Thames. The city's buildings were overwhelmingly wooden, crammed together across streets barely wide enough for 2 people to pass side by side. The summer of 1666 had been brutally dry, one of the driest in living memory. The city's timber was tinder dry. All it needed was a single spark. The city had no organized fire brigade. Firefighting relied on hand-pumped leather buckets, metal hooks, and human chains, hopelessly inadequate for what was coming. Into this catastrophically vulnerable city, a warm, dry east wind arrived on the night of September the 1st, blowing straight toward the heart of London. 1 a.m., Sunday, September 2nd. In the bakery of Thomas Farriner on Pudding Lane, an oven is left insufficiently damp. The fire begins. Within minutes, the wooden building was fully alight. Farriner and his family barely escaped by climbing from a second-story window into the neighbor's house. The Lord Mayor of London, Sir Thomas Bloodworth, was woken and informed of the fire. His dismissive response would go down in history as one of its greatest blunders. While the mayor slept, the east wind drove the fire westward with terrifying speed, leaping from rooftop to rooftop across the bone-dry timber city. London Bridge was threatened. The Thameside warehouses, packed with oil, pitch, tar, and rope, became catastrophic fuel depots feeding the inferno. Desperate Londoners abandoned their homes, flooding the streets with carts, horses, and whatever possessions they could carry. The city became pure chaos. Samuel Pepys, the famous diarist, watched from a rooftop in horror, recording every detail in the pages that would become history's most vivid eyewitness account. Pepys raced to Whitehall to personally wake King Charles II and demand action. What happened next would define, and ultimately save, what remained of London. King Charles II ordered fire breaks, entire rows of buildings to be demolished or blown up with gunpowder to halt the fire's advance before it consumed everything. Charles II himself rode into the streets, passing out coins to firefighters, physically helping with bucket chains, a king fighting alongside his people. Monday, Tuesday, the fire raged on. St. Paul's Cathedral, the spiritual heart of the city, became surrounded by the advancing inferno. The heat generated by St. Paul's Library, thousands of books stored in the vaults, was so intense that the lead roof melted and ran through the streets like lava. Eyewitnesses described a wall of fire 2 miles wide, moving faster than a man could run, visible from 30 miles away in every direction. Thousands of Londoners camped in the open fields of Islington, Highgate, and Moorfields, watching their city burn from the hills above. Fear and rumor transformed into something dangerous. Foreigners were blamed. Attacks broke out across the city as mobs hunted for scapegoats. A French watchmaker named Robert Hubert confessed to starting the fire deliberately. A confession so riddled with impossibilities, it was almost certainly false. Hubert was hanged, despite expert witnesses confirming his confession was impossible. He described a house that hadn't existed on Pudding Lane. By Wednesday, September 4th, the wind finally began to ease. The fire breaks ordered by the king began to hold. The fire slowed and stopped. 4 days, 4 nights. When the smoke finally cleared, 80% of the city of London had been completely and utterly destroyed. The human cost was staggering. 100,000 people left homeless in a city with no welfare system, no relief aid, and no plan. A parliamentary inquiry was launched. The committee's conclusion was swift and decisive. The fire had been an accident, but not everyone agreed. From the ashes, Sir Christopher Wren was commissioned to rebuild London, designing the new St. Paul's Cathedral and 51 new city churches from the ruins. But here is where history grows dark. Within weeks of the fire, disturbing theories began to surface, pointing not to an accident, but to deliberate arson. The monument to the Great Fire, built in 1677, contains a Latin inscription that openly blamed French Catholics for deliberately starting the blaze. The inscription was later removed, but the damage was done. Anti-Catholic sentiment raged for decades, shaping English politics for generations. Modern historians have uncovered evidence that the fire's extraordinary spread may have been aided by the deliberate removal of firefighting equipment from key locations. The truth may never be known. What is certain is that the Great Fire changed London and English history more completely than any event before or since. The London that rose from those ashes was wider, safer, and built in stone, a city reborn. But the scars of what was lost never fully healed. Do you believe the Great Fire of London was truly an accident? Or does the evidence of conspiracy go deeper than history has ever admitted? Tell us below. Subscribe to Dark History Vault for more untold stories from history's most dramatic and destructive moments. A new episode drops every single week.